Juve surviving, and Juve ain't playing, so only Ruler from that fateful day in November of 2017. Korea's last international victory. When will the next one be? And will GenG or KT even be around at the event to inaugurate it? GenG versus KT, LCK Spring, Week 3, Day 2, and Galio Cassiopeia first two bans, so sticking with the tier list at GenG.
Yep, I've seen this one before. I feel like we might be casting over the VOD. Pop Smithy is the Cassiopeia and the Lucian going to be exactly the same follow-up bans.
We're changing it up.
Vladimir going to be taken away. There you go.
Delivered. It always changes. Atlas, the wheels of time, they never end. And KT Rolster now are wondering, what if the enemy first picks Victor? Are we just done so?
Well, you said that things change. KT have gone back to the beginning because, of course, they're the ones that want to. They won this one on the red side as the Urgot going to be locked in this time. Not going to be taking the Ezreal in this round. KT can pick it away, but do they even want to?
I think Aatrox is a very obvious take here. The flexes are maybe a little bit less crazy. Unless you go Aatrox Scion, then you can play around with the Aatrox in multiple lanes. Otherwise, we just think we might be seeing a top lane matchup be locked in. Kingen hasn't really been playing any weird stuff in solo queue from what I've seen. A lot of
it's been pretty standard.
The meta stuff. Umti's Lee Sin is something I would like to see. Umti's Kayn is would be so exciting, but
he has been playing a very small amount of it, but
so
not a lot.
Umti and Haru are Korea Kayn players, so they are players who you do respect could lock in Kayn any moment. First round seems very bold, so I think this is just a hover. The Lee Sin I want stolen away. We get it. I like this as Umti is another one of our clean Lee Sin players. Always a bench player for KT who can play Lee Sin.
Yep, that's exactly right. And his Lee Sin so far in 2019, I believe, has a 30 KDA. So not too bad after the guest come. As Lissandra going to be locked in again for Fly. That's run it back one more time. 3 in a row here for him. And the Ezreal, of course, is going to be locked in for Ruler because it was left available. BDD, what does he take this time? Or what does he decide to augment KT's draft with Victor, that they can flex around?
If they want Victor, they would probably have to take it now. See if KT oblige.
We saw Victor so many times in the hands of SKT earlier on that I'm having a weird, dirty feeling about it because it just didn't work at all against Griffin.
And it seems like they're going to be going AD carry after all. Wonder if Zenit and Gango have been sharing any notes on a Draven.
Yeah, there are some other options that we've seen work with the Tahm Kench that are awesome dudes, but I feel like you're right.
Just my suspicion that it wasn't a first round Victor. No one can really plug and play replace Victor and Vlad. Yes, you can go Nico or Morgana and things like that, but with Lee Sin already locked in, it's unlikely you will go for a bot lane Morgana. In a scenario like this, and Spirit's not here, so we can't talk about Morgana for now.
That's true. Olaf going to be banned away. One of Peanut's answers to Lee Sin taken off the board, and also was one of our premier Olaf players last year.
Do wonder if it's just Olaf Nocturne bans and then Peanut kind of has to fall back to a Sejuani or Zac.
Probably want him on more of one of these slower junglers so that KT can play their early game the way they want to.
Zac would be really good against KT's comp locked in already, mid-range threats, and Tahm Kench is actually answered very well by Zac. Wouldn't mind a Zac ban from KT Rolster.
Actually, they're going to be really, really smart. Hasn't been banned all series long. 2 seconds to go. It is one of the Peanut favorites, and if it's not banned, it should be picked. Not going to be banned here as the Alistar is respected once again. From Life.
So Gragas, likely to be the lane partner of the Ezreal again. Zoe banned from BDD. Let's see who the last pick is going to be for KT. They can continue to flex the Aatrox. Further, if they do lock in an 80 carry, tier list wise, there's some options available, but obviously the God tiers have been banned away early.
Yeah. Gango's not there, but Zenit might be able to try his hand at something like a Draven, but does he decide to lock in here is okay. Ryze being considered.
Can lane against Lissandra and Urgot, so it's fine. Does mean they're last picking for bot lane, unless we're going to be seeing bot lane Ryze. I think that's pretty trashy right now. It doesn't feel like it can do the previous days of just Ryze versus Vladimir, and of course Zac is taken here. It's a God tier pick against KT's mid-range comp. They get the Braum as well, and now we need to see KT actually let us know why they stuck around with last pick 80 carry. I think Caitlyn would be very safe. I don't think Caitlyn works in this particular. I think you have to go risky to justify the first round Tahm Kench.
I think so too. Jinx would certainly be risky.
It's an old pick for Sketch and Gango, but not for Zenit. And it's going to be Sivir, which does have some synergy with a mid-range comp, but You look at the Zac and say, if Zac gets a farming phase, I think that GenG might actually have the number here of KT Rolster.
But what did we see? We saw BDD able to start fights on the Aatrox and win them with On the Hunt available as well. The Aatrox will be able to get in there, wielded most likely this time by Kingen, but still haven't made up their minds just yet. Still 10 seconds before we know those solo lanes. Looking over the other side though, GenG just have the most plug-and-play GenG composition that we could ever see.
If you ever lose vision around mid lane though, Zac threat always has to be respected. 5 points, Elastic Slingshot, Ezreal, and Brahms, so safe in mid lane, sieging down. I understand how this comp can work from the side of KT, but it looks hard to execute, and they don't have those veteran voices. If you're going to play awesome dudes and burst damage comps that aren't about front-to-back team fighting at the right time, I don't mind there being not as many veteran voices, but now that we're going a bit more square, I think what's lost might be a bit more apparent than was in game number 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly, and especially when you've been botching these early skirmishes as well, diving turrets a little bit too aggressively. Yes, if you've got an Aatrox in your hands, you've got World Ender to give you a little bit more there, but I feel like having finesse and really shutting your opponent out in the early game is the way that KT are going to be able to get over this hump, but they've got a lot of scaling advantages, and I'm looking at the Lee Sin thinking that he wants to try and get amongst it, hit level 6 and start kicking things around, but the Zac, if he just farms up alongside him, he's going to get there at a relatively similar click. It's looking very GenG favored in the draft, in my personal opinion.
Fans in full voice. 10:30 p.m. local time.
KT fans also in full voice. Couldn't hear too much tiredness, so people keeping their hearts in it. As it is a Thursday night, still school night here for a lot of the people in the audience.
Yep, the break doesn't start until after Friday's classes, so shout out to anyone staying out here 10:30 p.m. near the Heart of Seoul, near City Hall.
Yep.
Game number 3, final game of the night.
And
I do love...
Sorry, just going to say that I do love that Zenit plays with Deft's Sivir skin, and also played very, very well on the champion the last time we saw him, but sorry for rudely erupting.
That's fine. I was next to another Australian play-by-play in pastry time for Deft's most famous Sivir moment, the pentakill against LGD in Game 5 of the LPL Spring Finals.
Deft, what the heck, I believe is the quote.
I mean, it was a flash crit that won them the game there. He high-rolled on crit really high in that team fight, but sometimes good things happen. Went on to MSI, rest is history for Deft, and the LPL has only gotten stronger over the past 4 years.
Had a bit of a dip after that, if you remember.
Hey, just like that VOD we cut earlier in the day, I don't remember it. I can't remember a time that China wasn't dominant.
Okay, good. Well, we got the matchup. Minions meet on the bottom side of the map. And Snowflower and Zenit see what they can do in a true 80 carry matchup on the bottom side. Snowflower was able to get his licks in there onto the GenG bottom lane, and that's going to mean that lane control going to be given over to Zenit. They will be able to have some dominance over this level 2.
After you saw the Braum eat the Boomerang Blade from Sivir, would have been hard-pressed to think that we would see that lane pressure. Speaking of pressure, a bit of vertical jungling being done by Umti on the top side, just trying to track the Zac as much as possible. My kind of query was not Aatrox mid lane for BDD, because it's been his first Blood Factory where he gets solo kills every game. He's been popping off on that pick in this matchup. The reason to me to do this is to think about, okay, well, what does Ryze have in the matchup against Lissandra? He has hard crowd control, and he opens up Umti to come through mid lane pre-6 and make things happen. So I think this is going to be BDD and Umti trying to combine powers around the mid lane. We see them both on screen for now, but only about a double scuttle as we speak, because actually Ryze can win the Urgot matchup pretty hard if he gets a good start.
Yeah, I was thinking that this was a very flexible lane, which is why we waited until 20 seconds before talking about where these solo lanes were actually going. Roach back on a lot of comfort, but you can see Kingen actually having a decent time shoving this wave further forward, and he has a fair bit of augmented vision by Umti's visit to that part of the map.
Here's a visit.
Yeah, not going to be able to steal that one away. Peanut has the smite.
Thanks for the leash, says Peanut. Gets another camp down. That's camp for camp so far between Lee Sin and the Zac. Double scuttle, so a little bit of value loaded in there, but otherwise parity between the two. I want to draw your attention to Rune Choice here by BDD. It is an Aftershock. We've seen a bit of Aftershock rise in tricky games, and there's a real chance that Zach comes in, Lissandra glides in, and Rise caught in between 5 people. So he's gone for the cleanse. No TP to go with an Aftershock, but we've seen a lot of Aftershock in tricky games. This is a tricky Rise game, but if you go phase rush, get a good start, and can lane against both Urgot and Lissandra in the side lane, the phase rush will get you chase down kills, and it's definitely the aggressive choice.
Yeah, and BDD has certainly shown that he likes the aggressive choice. Is that Ghost Borrow not going to spot Peanut?
Peanut loves ganking before any other Zac player would consider it, and he makes the right read here that Krugs are going to be up.
Yep, and the level 3 gank has certainly been something that he popularized earlier on in last year. Umti's going to come on over and spot him yet again, but this time on his side of the jungle, and Peanut's taking a lot of damage from here.
Let's watch the play here. Umti now gets the confirmation. Let's see if he calls down Kingen.
Yep, Sonic Wave is going to be on cooldown, Elastic Slingshot immediately, as Peanut is, of course, respecting Umti, but takes away the big one.
I would have called down Kingen earlier, because if that was just a Krug start, then Zac wouldn't have his Elastic Slingshot available to get out. In the end, nothing doing overall.
Wow, BDD threading the needle there and standing just outside of the turret range. Fly very upset on this Lissandra.
Umti chasing down Roach, but I think just about getting to this vision plan. Nothing doing there, not going to be able to take that one away.
Nope. Well, has some idea about where the wards are already placed. But KT find themselves back in a game where they have lane priority. And
Umti has Gromp respawn timer, but they know it was stolen, so Roach is here.
Yep, Umti knew, but he knew a little bit too late as Peanut flashes to stop him from getting to any sort of Ghost Burrow or anything over there. Don't think you can actually safeguard to it, but they didn't want to risk it.
That was really smart by GenG as a team. Peanut communicates that Gromp was stolen. They know the respawn timer on it. The flash there is because he has a control ward in the brush there and can guarantee that he actually gets the Q here. So they know this timer, respawn of Gromp. Control ward comes down from the Lee Sin. That gives Peanut something to actually aggro. The Q in, Stretch Armstrong in later. Nicely done by GenG, and it's also a next level based on Gromp respawn timer.
Yeah. Well, control ward, of course, like you say, was already put down, but I believe, yeah, it had a 2-stack, so it could have actually got to that safeguard had he made it. That's why it looked like the flash might have been an overreach, but wasn't in the end. It's very safe as Zenit. Oh, wishes someone had hit a skill shot.
It's a nice team moment from GenG, because there's definitely been a lot of issues. I think mid-jungle synergy is still really up in the air. But when it comes to just communication between Roach and Peanut, looking a lot better. And maybe that will actually be the thing, because you know, Peanut's playing every game. That part is for certain. They don't have another jungler. Feels like Roach and Peanut. Juve definitely didn't have a bad game in game number 1, but Roach and Peanut, maybe they are the duo that for now have the synergy edge.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think Peanut has been the difference so far in this series. Like, his play has certainly transformed since moving into this one, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's paired with Roach each time. That's first blood twice in a row. Going over to Peanut in tandem with Roach. He's gone back, got himself a Phage. Ruby Crystal hanging out there as well, well on his way towards the Black Cleaver.
That means that Peanut's gotten away with the Zac, going level for level against Umti. And we really like Zac. Against the first round here, it was already God tier when you see Aatrox, Lee Sin, and Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench has a few counters, but Zac does a really good job against him in multiple ways. On the first side, if the Devour's down, well, you clump heads, and Tahm Kench always about 200 range or W range away from a Sivir. And also, if he's in the belly, you just kidnap him and you get a 2-for-1 special anyways. 2-for-1s all over the place for the Sejuani. Umti gonna do some counter jungling anyway.
Yeah,
steal away the red buff, so a big camp at least stolen away.
Yeah, gets to get rid of the blast cone as well, but of course Elastic Slingshot means that Peanut will be able to meet him in this Dragon Pit if Umti decides to start it up. Kingan's gonna take down this Krug camp on the top side of the map just to make sure Peanut can't get there either, but he has made it to his Let's Bounce before Umti's got the Dragon Rage.
Already a problem.
Yeah.
Because we know how things go from there. And Sivir and Ryze didn't change things. Everyone here is 500-600 range, and thus Zac is very likely to get some big plays. This is definitely a game that Peanut might win MVP on, for you Peanut fans out there, if it is a GenG victory, but that's still in the far-flung future, and With a Sivir, you never give the game over to the enemy. There's always a timestamp where Sivir decides all.
Exactly, and look, the range on the side of GenG also isn't exactly the hugest, and they want to be piling in to try and take you down. And what does Sivir like? She likes a Beyblade Arena to throw her disc around in. She certainly might be able to do that, as KT wants to all jump on top of GenG. Kidnaps could just be such high value, like you've been talking about from Peanut. Steal away some popcorn chicken.
All 3 camps up, as Lee Sin was spending time on the enemy red side jungle. Power farming to start, as slowly making his way back to his jungle.
Yeah, a lot of pings coming in here as Roach going to clear out some vision. comes on down as Snowflower and BDD relatively far away. Steals away his own red buff after taking Peanuts as well, but not going to be able to punish the Zac any further than that.
It's blind as well. Nicely done by but even though it was overall pretty standard stuff when it comes to counter jungle and pulling the camp into the brush by Peanut. So no red buffs. It's Zac, so at the end of the day, not a red buff abuser by any means.
Yep. Zenit going to take a turret shot, but also going to get a bunch of that mana back, and also landed the back end of the Boomerang Blade with a BF Sword. That does now hurt, especially before Iceborne Gauntlet is completed, if that is where Ruler wants to go. 2 games as the Trinity Force user.
It's only single magic damage threat, and actually the armor, because you always take ricochets incidentally, is pretty high value, so I think Iceborne Gauntlet will be returned to here. Only reason not to would be if you spend all of your scrim time using Trinity Force, you just, you're feeling the item break points and the damage numbers cleaner that way.
Yep. Ruler has been a fan of Trinity Force for quite some time, but does dabble.
Saw the Gathering Storm procs on screen, so both Zenit and Ruler, even in a meta that's defined largely by shorter games, is going to be returning to Gathering Storm.
Yep. Okay, Boomerang Blade is going to be blocked. Okay, Omti's found Peanut yet again. Oh, goes for the kickback, but can't find it as the kidnap. Moves him right into the back end, has to flash as a result of that, but followed with the blind Q. And now KT are going to be able to take down Peanut for free. Zenit getting the kill is exactly what they wanted. And that was just beautiful from Omti.
That was the icing on the cake. Zenit takes a lot of free damage. Going to wait for the Fleet Footwork proc there. Immune through the kick, and yet it did not matter. So Peanut has been so reliable on using the immune of the Let's Bounce at the right time. Taken down anyway. Watch the replay here. You can see the kick go on cooldown. As it starts, as the play comes through, kick comes through, and the immune gets him out, but not going to be enough to keep his life. Keeps his head very clean on the Lee Sin, and like you say, can't argue with the kill participation for Zen.
Yeah, pretty sure that was a blind follow, but that little ward in that tri-brush could have potentially seen him, but...
He put a control ward over the wall.
Ah, yes, okay. Yeah.
Oh, good, a pause.
Whose mouse has stopped working this time? It's Peanut, as you can see.
He's actually the most famous mouse issue offender in the
Yeah.
LCK. We don't have a confirmation it's a mouse issue, but Atlas is referring to game 1 and 2, if you're joining us late, that we had some plentiful problems on the PC.
And the referees are hanging around Peanut, and junglers seem to have mouse issues. That's where my logic is going to go. But we'll see exactly whether or not we're going to be able to. No confirmation that will work as of now, but I do, as someone formerly working in IT, I do like it when you just turn it off and
Live
on
or
again.
replay, live or replay.
I believe it's live.
All right, let's watch for an elastic slingshot. Wait, why are we watching anything else?
Yeah.
Here we go.
3, 2,
Can he elastically slingshot?
And gets in there.
Yeah!
Doesn't land it, but Stretch Armstrong means that Zenit has to watch out. The pullback onto Snowflower. Peanut just going for the easier target. Didn't want to give away a spell shield.
Best elastic slingshot of the night. Loved it. Beautiful play there. However, unfortunately, they lost the Rift Hub.
What is this game, Papa Smithy? What movie is this? Have you seen this one?
They got gameplay in the way of our podcast.
I know, it's so weird. All right, and that was just when we were going back to, talking about something normal instead of just talking to Twitch chat. But up towards the top side of the map, we do have the Rift Herald taken and immediately popped down. Yeah, we wanted proactive play. Looks like we're going to get it as Roach turns up and he's like, why are there 3 things in my lane? 2 of them people, 1 of them Shelly.
Oh, and actually gets out of
320.
leash range there, so full gold goes to the Aatrox. No threat on the turret, but gold in the matchup going to be very welcome. Shopping time was better for Roach than it has been for Kingen. So next back will have to be the important one, and apparently normalcy has returned.
Oh, stops the back. Get dumped. Yeah, Zenit actually gets the spell shield in time for turns. That was great. They are going to go back home, and actually it was for a reason, because there's only blue vision. They're on the bottom side of the map. Gold is completely even, but the vision investment certainly a bit topsy-turvy for both of these teams. KT focusing topside because they just took the Rift Herald. Now need to move that vision towards the bottom side of the map. Zenit going to teleport back down there.
Reminder of our analysis that we're really liking Zac against the mid-range threats of KT, but in Sivir 6 items, you never know for sure. Speaking of the Zac against this team comp, looking for a gank topside. Kingen has ult and flash, so don't really see how this is going to be pulled off. And Peanut didn't want to take his Gromp, just goes for the counter gank and finds nothing.
Yeah, very close to the vision range, but unable to actually find elastic slingshot range. As Kingen gets some nice knockups here onto Roach. Not going to get the sweet spot of the last hit of the Q, but finds the others. So he's just cycling his abilities. Roach shoves this wave further forward, has a 13 CS advantage, but it's the only lane that GenG do have an advantage in so far.
And his birthday buff only lasts another 43 minutes, Atlas.
Hey, that's
ticking
true.
over
That's
to
true.
tomorrow, where he's just a non-birthday boy. Haha, we say to him.
Roach probably told Peanut that secretly when they're not supposed to really talk, but he's like, birthday buff wearing out 45 minutes, just deal with it, man.
So far he's 1-0 in a series they're 1-1 in, so Roach is a good luck charm.
Yeah, Winter's Bite now on cooldown. Zenit did use the spell shield to get rid of it. Omti comes down, clears out this control ward, and they have repositioned their vision.
Roach wants to keep Kingen in lane as long as possible. The 320 gold, and it's the next shopping trip been delayed, because Kingen hasn't found a time to back. Mid lane we talked about, the only reason to run the Rise was to play around mid lane. Haven't seen that so far, and now bot lane.
Yeah, not going to be able to land the elastic slingshot, but they pull Zenit back in. Devour is going to come through, but they knew that. On the Hunt comes off, and I think that might have been a panic button as KT decide not to realm warp themselves in.
A lot to panic about, though. If the stun comes in, yes, Cleanse is there, but then you have to use Cleanse, and thus the Kidnap is 100% going to get the double kill. They move away from that. Peanut continues to fight.
Omti not going to give over the Rift Scuttler without a fight. Gets the smite in there as Peanut was trying to get Stretch Armstrongy on top of it.
Visual lag.
Yeah,
just for a second there. That one's acceptable, guys. Not the players receiving that one. That's just on our end.
Should we pause?
You know, I think we've paused enough.
Okay. Well, Kingen up here will easily be able to deal with this minion wave as he's reached some parity as the waves are starting to crash further forward. I think that might have just been more about Roach missing some minions rather than anything else, because Roach did have an advantage up towards the top side of the map.
Won't have to cycle his ghost just yet, as the teleport was a little bit behind Kingen's. It was teleported second by Roach, so yeah, cooldown should be back for Kingen first.
All right, Zenit clears out the wave very, very easily. Doesn't have his Tahm Kench around him, but the Catfish not seen on vision just yet. GenG going back home.
Here's Peanut. 4 levels down on the top laners. Gonna fall further behind with all those XP nerfs, but he might find Kingen.
Yep, knockups come in, and Kingen wastes no time with that flash. A lot of respect. Holds on to World Ender, but he's not doing any funny business with Peanut this game.
You know what happens when the coach sees you die while your team's on the Drake? You might get a paddle in Atlas, so ooh, smart of him to back away from that. Speaking of paddling, Turret takes a paddling through all this in mid lane.
Oh yeah, Fly's taking a paddle, and oh no, Peanut is actually the one caught out. See the mid lane, assume it's Fly, wasn't this time. Thankfully Peanut has his flash, able to get out, but certainly wanted to have that summoner spell available for himself.
But 3 good things happen for KT in a row. They get out from top lane, they get the gank, and they push bot side, and they take the Drake. 2 Drakes to the good. Omti coming in.
Yeah, no Unbreakable now, is not going to follow the Q in, and Zenit has the spell shield. Now can't block something like the Glacial Fissure. Teleport, of course, has to be taken there from Fly. Not going to take the Claw as King, and immediately the World Ender comes down, and now this is the fiesta that we've been looking forward to in this series. Life gets onto his teammates, uses the stopwatch, and somehow no one has died, and they're not going to Realm Warp.
Chasing!
Is hyper-aggressive, all on top of the poor Braum, and 3 kills erupt out of nowhere. KT, that's the trump card.
That is the time to use it too. The other advantage for BDD on the Rise. He'll choose the right time for a Realm Warp. Brings in the minions. They go to mid lane. These are rotations Monty will be stoked about.
Oh, hell yeah. We know he's a KT fan. Maybe he's a fan of this new KT as well. This turret going to take a lot of damage. Thankfully, for GenG fans. It is after 14 minutes and not going to be getting the plating. And Roach has also taken the turret down on the top side of the map. But damn, KT going to be feeling the momentum after that one.
B2D banks the gold. It's for you, mate. You deserve it on that one. You don't need it to be your birthday. He wants to be a party pooper for Roach's birthday party.
Yeah.
Roach didn't get invited to his surprise party. Feels bad, man. He doesn't have teleport. He can't attend. Everyone else comes bot lane. Watching this play down. Aatrox just turret dies because he's got the ultimate. Sad boy Roach having a solo birthday party. But we thought it was over and there was going to be egg on the face. We thought that after all, GenG were going to make it all a clever ruse. But the minion wave comes with you, so there's actually nowhere to kite out. GenG don't expect it, and KT roll in. 3 kills to the good, a turret in the mid lane, and they get the bot lane turret as well. They get everything.
Yeah. I was hoping for another yay, but I'll take just a yell from B2D, as he's the one that orchestrated that beautiful play, and he'll get a Banshee's Veil as the answer to it. I believe that was outright for the Rise. 1-0-3 now. This guy's going to be so hard to keep down.
GenG surprise parties. Look, there's a lot of great things about GenG, but there's surprise parties. It looked like it was fun, but they just didn't invite the birthday boy.
Yeah, Roach is like, next time I'm not allowing my family to make the party for me. I'll let my friends do it, as Peanut doesn't get the Stretch Armstrong to work onto Snowflower.
All right, what does this all mean? It means KT jump up in gold. Understandable. 2 turrets. How about a 3rd one? And 3 kills to the good. That also means that Sivir, you blink and miss it. She's got 2 items, but so does Ezreal. That's bad news when Sivir should be scaling and has a more expensive build than what the enemy has. This could still be all undone. There was a lot of summoners used, and Peanut can still be a win button on this Zac that we were loving in the champion select. But everyone on KT is feeling more spry because suddenly it's Zac having lost 3 outer turrets after those outer turrets looking pretty imperviable just 2 minutes ago.
And also, as we open the map up, this composition that wants to rotate around with the Realm Warp, with the Abyssal Voyage, can catch people in rotation much easier than what GenG has in a very standard, we want a team fight and protect our ruler front-to-back composition. Of course, KT's a little more like that than it used to be, but with no true tank, it isn't necessarily a composition that wants to just go head-to-head against GenG. So pick certainly an opportunity now that the map has gotten a lot shorter for GenG.
Some of the transformations have come in, and also choices are very smart. KT want to fight now. They're not waiting for Sivir. It might happen. Look at BD's item choices here. They're actually really heads up. He goes Banshee Veil and Stopwatch in this game so that he can try to play make, and also so that Lissandra and Zac don't make him basically have no positioning because the CC chain will come in.
Yeah.
He's gone Merc Treads, Cleanse, Banshee Veil, and has the Overshield. So he is actually a brawler, does high damage in the build, and doesn't have to think about his position. It's really intelligent and allows him to be a quarterback that some Risers can never be, like we've seen earlier today.
And with the Phase Rush as well as On the Hunt being available in a team fight
They're
from
getting in
Zenit,
there.
yeah, he's going to be able to fight whoever he wants, and he won't be CC'd, given the plethora of counters to that he has in his arsenal.
And armor is stacked. The magic resist is supposed to be an afterthought, but now with BDD battle ready, it could be the tune of quite a large number, maybe even 10% large.
And in order to get him respected, he needed to get that sort of respect.
If he falls
with
behind,
the magic resist. Yeah, exactly.
Armor stack him, baby.
You build armor and then you have no worries there at all. There is vision in the back of this pit as Umpty pulls out the Infernal Drake, but this is the first big Drake. True Shot Barrage just going to help KT lock this one down. Peanut wants to get the steal, but doesn't. Of course, Lee Sin pretty damn good with the execute damage as Kingen fighting against Roach. They've already started this one. Flash comes out. Kingen just going to dash through the wall with his Umbral Dash.
He's alone.
Lands the Infernal Chains, but Roach able to disdain to get himself out of the way.
TP advantage was there from Roach, but they don't actually have a TP ward he likes, so he never TPs, walks down, and is actually cut by Aatrox. They just have a bit of a fight on the top, and that is great news for KT, because in a number disadvantaged scenario with the big potential of that happening, effectively it never happened, so it's kind of like they got a free TP to the bot side, and we remember that TP was hella high value.
Oh yes, oh yes. Followed up by a pretty high value Realm Warp as well. But in order to give KT a plus mark and talk about them with a lot more happiness at the end of this series, we need them to not throw this lead away that they've been able to pick up with such a great play on the bottom side. They did this in game number 1, and it bit them with some over-aggression. You can see that's why they're probably playing with a little bit less reckless abandon than they otherwise could have. A lot of gusto can come into your team if you're able to get a lead like this in that fashion. They've got themselves all of the 3 Drakes that have spawned. Next one going to be Infernal as well as Snowflower. Going to walk back to vision that they have.
However, there is still that clear but of this comp is answered very cleanly by what GenG have and the Zac in particular. And this is not just KT Rolster LCK champions. It feels wrong to say that none of the players here were on that winning team because Smeb and Score are on the bench, and of course the rest of the team has departed. So because of that, our guarantees of skillful playing out of the late game team fights are not there for KT Rolster. We can't give them the benefit of the doubt on that. It is still 8th and 9th, I believe, on the ladder right now playing out. So given that, we hold our tongue and we wait to see what unfolds.
Well, BDD's going to steal away a blue buff. And if anything has stayed the same, it's the fact that BDD is an absolute monster. Of course, for Kingzone last year, now the pride of KT Rolster. Weird thing to talk about. Used to be Yukao, but he's now in a Freaka Freak.
All right. BDD hasn't required much resources to manufacture his leads in victories. He's done a really good job there. No solo kill in games 2 and 3, but the solo kill in game number 1 and the Aatrox-Lissandra matchup was eerily familiar to his times with Grace, and we've actually risen up on Grace appreciation. He had some great games after that match.
Some of our better Zoe games have been with Grace at the helm, and on a team that is doing as poorly as Jin Air certainly is something worth talking about. King and waiting for a time to jump on top of Roach. It's probably when the Purge is on cooldown, just FYI. He's going to go back home. King absolutely fine, pushing up a little bit further down here because there is a lot of vision available for KT. And Zenit just free to hoover up these minions. 20 CS ahead of Ruler and 202 on this Sivir, who's gone very respectful. Merc Treads and the QSS completed.
GenG can never give up deep vision in their blue side jungle because the enemy team, it's not just about, well, we need to get space to contest a Baron, as Ruler has to potentially fight for this red buff. Remember, it's Realm Warp and Abyssal Voyage, the rotational speed here already shown. We're seeing a committal.
Yeah, Teleport is going to come down as Peanut wants to get the kidnap. They're going to get one of the picks. No! Umpty able to go into stasis. Infernal Chains is there. It's going to pull back. Life, who's not necessarily the target that they want, as Ruler gets his first kill of the game in the second for GenG. Does he have the Arcane Shift to get onto BDD, or does he even want to? As KT not going to get chased after. Fly gives up on getting on that Claw of Doom to follow.
KT's lives should have been flashing in front of their eyes. I saw Peanut lighting up a team fight. It doesn't quite happen. And in terms of summoners, they actually only lose 2 flashes on Umpty and Snowflower and a single pick. Stasis so important there, otherwise Flash Urgot might have just wrecked the team fight with the ultimate arming. The ultimate doesn't arm in the end. We're going to watch the replay. This is the class from multiple angles that GenG's draft was about, and the mid-range threats can't fight against all the zoning impacts. But Umpty, notice, never actually fear beyond death. He does flash at the end awkwardly, but it certainly isn't the worst-case scenario for the side of KT.
Peanut does get himself a blue buff, though, and he hasn't been able to take control of any sort of jungle camps. You see the gold? It's going to be just the gold of the kill. And Infernal Drake going to be coming up in 20 seconds. You're going to have to beeline back in there, Peanut, but he goes back, gets himself the Gargoyle's Stone Plate. Feeling more battle ready is the Zac. This Drake is going to certainly be the first priority for both teams.
Right now, the setups around it. Good deep vision here for a gank. Speaking of ganks.
Yeah, Realm Warp going to come in as Ruler gets over the wall. Life stands behind him, and they do get to relative safety. Fly is exhausted, but can he actually wait it out as they just turn? They get on top of the Aatrox. World Ender is there, but he has nowhere to go. Flashes instantly, but goes into stasis. First kill onto BDD is a huge deal, and now Peanut looking to get in the middle of it, grabs the kill, and Snowflower taken out. Front to back team fighting, Ruler in safety, and GenG are looking for a Baron.
KT try the flanks to get low health members, but BDD dies in the end. And like you say, GenG onto Baron, and there's no smite to answer it.
Yep, not a chance, Umpty. It's a couple of mistakes in a row that you can't really have happen, but BDD just trying to bite off more than he can chew. Infernal Drake is going to come in, but GenG, can they actually get this? It's relatively early, as Zenit also wondering about whether he can get his.
GenG want both, and that's why they fight for the Infernal. They'll roll over there, and it's definitely slow, but Zach can't die to Baron realistically with the blobs.
That's a good point.
Gets it eventually, life pulls away, and the Baron is deserved. KT tries to make a play happen against a comp that really can beat them, unless there's a huge vision advantage and Zenit free hitting. Both those things together didn't happen. Watch the replay again. Team fights for KT that are won should be about ricochets. Zenit's not doing any damage right now. And actually GenG, surprisingly, after taking out Atrox, can kite back into this choke, and BDD's taken down because Zenit and BDD are away from their front lines, while the front lines on the top side aren't really achieving anything.
Yeah, and also the frozen throw was a big deal. They're zoning Zenit through a lot of that fight, and he walks around through the river, watches the rest of his team die in horror. GenG followed up with the Baron and an Inferno.
Clear calls coming there. It's a single shot caller voice.
And it's not Ruler.
Nope.
He's used as a
Wasn't
weapon.
Ruler or Peanut. Watching GenG push through the mid lane here. They've got the Baron buff now. They'll feel great about that. 4,300 damage by Ezreal. Confirmed, not 6 items yet, but things looking better than expected. Ruler takes a lot of free damage.
Yeah, they don't kill the turret
Can
in
Aatrox
time,
get
as
there?
Zenit is relatively low.
Oh
Oxy's
boy,
gonna
every
come on
angle.
over, though, as he gets chilling smited, kicked, and that's why he can't get out of the way of it. Life gonna go down as well, and we are playing tennis between these two teams. Peanut in a whole host of trouble, I believe, has the passive available, but if you're by yourself, you're still dead, my friend.
They get 3 kills on a double flank. We zoom out and see it. How much can KT get on the back end? The seesaw continues.
I just don't understand this series. It's one team win, next team win, one team win. I don't know. The yo-yo is super real. An inhibitor going to be the result here for KT. It's a negative 800 Baron power play, and you're right, Papa. I've seen this one before.
Risky.
Fly makes his way in, holds himself. Fair bit of damage going down, and KT not making the same mistake. One more time, they wanted to get the picks, but they didn't greed for the turret.
Can't end against Fly and Roach, too damn sticky. When it comes to try to take them down, they can wave clear. Both of them aren't killable. We back away, and the series extends.
Yep, it's about 1,000 gold in it. But how did this all happen, Papa? Look at them converge.
Watch the minimap here.
KT is coming from all angles.
Lee Sin comes from the bot side, I believe, pinged out Realm Warp to get closer as Kingen comes from top lane. It's not the flying V we expected, but it's the flying V that might be a bit off, you know? A bit of a primary school V, but it works out in this case.
It's the flying V that suits this series, Papa.
Peanut gets chased down, BDD gets the Rune Prison to put his old teammate in prison for the moment. Right now, we're all a captive audience. There's no gold lead. There's no separation. There is no leagues above the enemy that we saw in our first series of the night. GenG and KT are just having this fight to the last. And to the last, the spoils.
Yeah, and there's no Jhin in this game, but you're right. Captive audience certainly relevant. And the curtain call is still not entirely made up on just yet, because KT and GenG still fighting this one out. And I have a feeling that KT, they may just throw this tennis ball back over the other side of the court before too long. It's just been the flavor of this particular game. And KT haven't shored up what were some difficulties that we had the rest of the games in the series.
And I really do hope the viewers appreciate how nameplates on this series. It's easy to say, okay, Smeb and Score aren't there. I'm not convinced they would have changed too much. Remember, KT are 1 and 3, only beating Jinair. Yes, there is, of course, the upside of those two people playing at their peak. Not many upsides are coming to be from peaks from years previous, translated into 2019 meta. It's the young guys, right? It's the new orgs that have done so well in the 2019 season, and it's just the disparity between Sandbox Gaming, who we'll see play against Griffin later in this week. Griffin, of course, themselves, who are one of the newer orgs, or promoted orgs, having relatively more success. KT and GenG just really still trying to understand where they are relevant in the 2019 season, and we can't close the door on anything with this best of 3 or this season, but what about closing the door on the birthday boy? He's damn tanky.
Yeah, he does have a Gargoyle Stone Plate, going to get pulled in with the Infernal Chain, but KT do back away. World Ender is there, but Snowflower, yes, is going to devour him. Move on back, and that's the disengage call.
World's teams proudly months ago, now in this relegation dogfight. Maybe a preview of bad things to come. GenG get to back away. Roach is not the one to collapse on in the side lane.
Teleport. Bring him back in. Snowflower is the one cycling that one through. Gets back on the map as quickly as possible. Zenit coming down as well, but holds on to his TP just in case he needs to get back in again. He has a Mercurial Scimitar. That's 4 items on the Sivir. Death what the heck marks have not been hit just yet. But
hey, a roller coaster.
Yeah, you can see the roller coaster. I still see it as the blue bits being islands and just a view of a horizon over the water. And if it is one of those, then you're looking at not necessarily the cleanest video game possible.
Heart palpitation's another good one for
yeah,
some of these gold leads, because I'm sure fan bases around the world and here at Lowell Park are feeling what has been a topsy-turvy series.
Well, it's continuing down that route, but Ruler does have both of his mana items stacked up. Seraph's Embrace, Muramana both there to match the 4 items that Zenit has already picked up for himself. But what's going to be more important? Is it going to be whether or not KT can jump on top of Ruler with everyone, or is it going to be if Zenit can avoid this sort of gank?
Zenit not free hitting in a team fight should be team fight victory, GenG. They reposition and do damage so much easier. That is just the reality of the kit difference between Ezreal and Sivir in a nutshell. Kiting upwards towards the Baron. Elder's off the map for a long time. 4 minutes at this point in the game. Feels like an age. So given that all, Umti and Zenit, you have to once again expect the KT will trip up in some of their rotational play and movements. They had a nice play with the Realm Warp and Abyssal Voyage earlier, but Umti on Jin Air was largely in these parts of the games where he could just be caught in the wrong part of the map at the wrong time. Kingan still also forging a reputation. Smeb, usually the shot caller, he's not playing. Score, the backup shot caller, also not playing. I assume BDD is the big voice.
Oh yeah, Ruler taking a lot of damage, but that might have been the bait as Snowflower gets the Devour in. They do get the first pick off in the fight though. Umti with the flash off cooldown is going to die first, and Kingan turns up a little bit late to this particular party.
Peanut can just load up, go in, they find one person, the enemy smite. Is there any way KT don't sacrifice Baron for this? Surely the answer to that is no. KT, they know GenG is on Baron. How do they react?
Yeah, are they actually just going to go over and try and challenge for it? They got a couple of Cloud Drakes, meaning that this movement speed is certainly a big deal. Smite had been picked up by Snowflower as they're going to get themselves into the pit. Is this a true 50-50? It's going to be taken by Peanut. He's got smites in the past, going to get one here, but can they win the team fight? Fly going to go down. Zenit relatively safe fighting in this fight as he gets some autos onto Ruler. Now has to press all the buttons to get out of the way of Peanut. BDD devoured as Snowflower's trying to save them. Decent shield comes in for Peanut, but the cleanup is there, and Ruler, when he's arcane shifting forward, you know that GenG have won the fight.
Team fight spacing 5v4, oh so much easier. Zenit couldn't free auto multiple tanks, only Peanut's health bar is near him. Double smite on GenG as well. Roach into Peanut enough to pick up the objective. They get it down, they rush through mid, and with death timers getting long, I don't even know if Sivir can stop GenG winning the series.
Exactly right, not through the Baroned up minions as they are taking these turrets down so quickly. GenG wanting to prove that they are still the bane of KT Rolster. Has been the case for a long time. KT bucked the trend just once, but looks like they're not quite able to do it again as Nexus turret's now under fire. Kidnap not going to get onto Zenit as Umti has respawned, but Zenit going into stasis is not going to save you now. He gets sustained. The fear is beyond death as GenG will destroy the Nexus and win the series.
So important for both teams, and GenG just, and I mean just, get over the line to the rapturous applause of their fans. Roach is a happy birthday boy after all. He missed his surprise party, but he came for the after party, and the after party sounds pretty good. If you're here live in Lowell Park, they're able to pick up the victory at 20 minutes before midnight.
And if you remember,
standard time, it was a weird one. It was a long one, but it's a GenG victory after all.
Yep, he just wanted to have as much time here in Lowell Park as he could possibly get. Very close to 4 hours on the stage, as our GenG will take a bow, well deserved in this series, but is it a good sign as we have a look back, as we open our field of view to see what this means as far as level of play from both of these squads? Back-to-back messy series coming through from GenG, and you can see how happy they are that it's over, ready to go to bed, but Peanut finally with a wry smile on his face.
Finally, one of GenG or KT is on a win streak, and in the micro, that matters. Getting away from Jin Air, suddenly something that KT have to think about. GenG are now a series clear. And also importantly, Atlas, think about the last 3-game series that GenG lost, which was against Afrika Freaks, and they were just so demolished to go 0-3 to Afrika's autofill shenanigans. Now they come in, hard-fought victory over KT Rolster, and at the end of the season, will this be a separation of second and third or third and fourth? Probably not, at least based on how things look, but you got to talk about the today. You got to find momentum somewhere, and at least they're on a win streak. It's the least you can get, but it's the win streak they have to accept.
Yeah, you can see Umti spilling his water bottle there just a little bit, not onto the computers or anything like that, but KT wanting to get onto their break, wanting to look at what has gone wrong and try to adjust. You mentioned the score interview that Ashley Kang did put out for all of us, and it was eye-opening to look at him wanting to go back to basics and really focus on getting their team together as a unit rather than what has been happening so far, because it has been a humbling experience for the man that just recently held up the LCK trophy.
KT Rolster's super team was the epitome of too many cooks can spoil the broth. The problem now is, feels like sometimes there aren't any cooks, and the broth isn't even being made, and they're not winning matches out. It's not a joke. This is a concern for our reigning champions. Could potentially, right now, look like the team most likely to go into relegations. That is what we are talking about. That is what is happening here on the Rift. This was a very extended game. The elastic slingshot felt like a bit of a kind of shotgun shell every time we went into the pause and out of the pause, so the slingshot perhaps one of the apt comparisons. There is one on screen, but a little bit later in the game. Some pretty crazy team fights. Some of them were actually navigated very well from KT Rolster. This was the realm war.
This was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, man.
Cut
this
the video.
was
Cut the
so
video, guys.
Good
Cut the video.
You know what? Good news. When KT play, we've got a highlight clip to show before
hey,
their game starts.
There we go. Normally you don't show highlights from the opposition. However, this is just highlights from this particular game. And you guys may have forgotten that this even happened, or may have just recently woke up. This was a position in this game after we had the extended pause.
But the return throw had to happen. The Fiesta had to happen. And I think KT just tried too hard and then end up getting the least out of Sivir and Rise possible. Rise, again, zoned. There's 3 people kiting back. Meanwhile, the front line for KT isn't kiting at all. They're just fighting against Roach and another enemy on the top side of the map. Curious, but again, given nameplates, understandable. In that particular play, watching the mid lane plays here, there was a lot of different fights happen. This was, of course, the Flying V that looked a bit different, but was super effective. The throwback, we'll call it, in
another one. It went up and down and up and down and up and down. It was the roller coaster, but in the end, it was GenG that stopped it. Wasn't the case in game 1, but KT couldn't keep the consistency, and this was, like you say, the throwback, but I believe it happened another couple of times. Man, it was an undulating series, and then some.
And you might say, KT, get off the roller coaster. It's too much one way and the other. I'm not sure they might like the stop they find if the roller coaster ends and they don't stop the musical chairs, because they still don't have a strongest 5. Coming this far into the season seems like scrims and Casper Cup and all those things. I haven't counted for full information. I love Peanut and Roach this fight, by the way. There was never times for Ricochet to get value. They really positioned well on Zac and Urgot at the end.
That's not to say the Sivir wasn't actually getting some auto attacks in there, but as you can see on the gold graph, guys, in the end, GenG did do it, but they overcame some deficits that were getting pretty large as well. I'm a bit sad that we don't actually have a key on this graph to understand exactly how far things fluctuated.
And you just know that all 11 players that took to the Rift today, including Cuvée, who of course didn't see out the series, are going to be just shattered at this point when it comes to the long pauses, all the breaks in the action. Everyone out there that joined us for all of today's action, especially if you just joined in for the second series, definitely the better part of 4 hours, 3 hours and 45 minutes. We still have an interview and some very tired boys talk about it.
Exactly.
And remember, shout out to the GenG boys, because there's going to be some midnight interviews with the media as well after all this. The commitments don't end. They got more League of Legends to play as Ruler picks up the double MVP. I think Roach is kind of cruelly done in this series. He deserved an MVP somewhere. Doesn't find one, but finds a birthday victory, and he'll take it.
Yeah, not necessarily just for having a birthday as well. I think that he played phenomenally, especially after Cuvée had a decent performance as well, as Snowflower just caught out of position. You mentioned how good the draft was against the Tahm Kench. but Peanut did still have to play it out effectively, and he did so very, very nicely as well. On his Zac that he always seems to make work in the early game. I mean, how often does Peanut pick Zac and then get a first blood? I mean, it was happening a lot of the time when he was playing for Kingzone and continues to be pretty much the same case. He uses it in the early game very well.
I know until summer season he had never lost in Korea, and his first professional loss was at MSI. So he has been a Korea Zac player of note. Always a Cinderhawk jungler. Finally get that interview with Ji-sun. She's going to be talking to Rule.
Thank you very much, guys. We're going to be joined by Rolster from GenG Esports. Well, first of all, I'm really unhappy because my performance was really bad, but victory is so important right now.
혁혁한 공을 세우셨습니다. 상대가 초반부터
Well, in
계속해서
the beginning of the
바텀
game,
저격질이 들어왔단 말이에요. 그때
they were
3경기
really
내내
taking
이즈로
care a
맞대응을
lot of the
하셨는데
bot
어떤
lane.
생각이셨나요?
And you played 3 Ezreal games in a row.
되게 잘한다는 걸 알고 있어서 일부러
Well, I was aware that Zenith is a really good non-AD carry player, so that's why I stick to playing Ezreal.
자, 장면 보면서 얘기를 나눌 텐데요. 억제기를 수비해내는 장면이 있었어요. 그때 굉장히 위협적인
Let's go through these
장면이었는데
highlights.
혹시 질 것이라는 것에 대한
Well,
부담감은
actually,
없으셨나요? 이
KT
장면이요.
players were so close to closing out the
무조건
game,
막을 수
but you
있을
guys
것
were able
같다고
to
생각하긴
defend it
했었어요,
and turn the game around.
이때는 혹시 어떤 콜이
Well, we had the
있었나요?
confidence that we could stop them,
죽이자고 했었던 것
and
같기도
Shaco
하고
was
기억이
mainly
잘 안
about
나요.
let's just kill them all.
기억이 좀 안 납니다.
I can't really remember
여기서
exactly.
이렇게 멋진 역전을 이뤄내면서 승리를 가져갔습니다. 2세트 얘기였고요. 자, 3경기 얘기를 해볼 텐데 굉장히
Game
엎치락
three.
뒤치락 많이
It
했잖아요.
was going back and forth.
이때 어디 즈음에서 승리를 예상하셨나요?
So when did you
한
feel like you gained the firm momentum to close out the game?
기억이 잘 안 나는데 너무 퍼즈가 오래돼서
Well, there was a really long pause, so I can't really remember
기억이 잘 안
exactly.
나네요.
Yeah, I
상황이
can't really
보여야 될 것
remember.
같아요, 화면에.
I think I have to go through some highlights.
자, 오늘 풀세트 접전 끝에 승리를 하셨습니다. 경기가 또 길기도 했고요.
It was a very
힘든
extended
점이나 아쉬운
game.
점 있으셨는지?
Is there any last comments?
일단
I was really struggling
제
for you.
경기력이 너무 좀 좋지
My
않았던 것
performance
같아서
was
이번
really
대회는
bad.
너무 그게 좀 팀원들한테도 좀
I'm
미안하고
really sorry for my teammates.
좀 더 기복 없이 잘해야 될 것
I
같아요.
wanna
그게 좀
be
아쉬운 점인 것
a
같아요.
more like a
하지만
consistent player.
팀적으로 이 룰러 엔딩이라는 말이 있을
However,
정도로 팀원들이 많이
People call
의지를
GenG
하는
play
것
style as a
같습니다.
ruler
스스로는
ending.
어떻게 생각하세요?
You know, they rely on your
저희
watts.
팀이 되게 다 잘하는 선수라고 생각을 해서
I
저는
mean, all of our
개인적으로
players
그런
are
생각 같은 건
doing
하나도
so well.
없고
I don't
그냥
feel like
저만 잘하면
that is
이긴다고
our
생각하고
style. I
네,
just
그리고 지난 인터뷰
feel like
때 바텀
I
듀오의
just need to
호흡이
practice
아주
more.
인상적이었다는 얘기가 많았어요.
네.
오늘은 어떠셨나요, 라이프 선수?
How was your performance with Life today?
오늘은 그냥 보통 정도 했던
Today,
것 같아요.
it was just like normal.
같은 면에서는.
Yeah, overall.
계속 아쉽다는 얘기를 많이 해주셔서 네, 그런데 혹시 가장 아쉬운 점이 있었다면
Why were you so
하나 말씀해
unsatisfied
주시겠어요?
from your play today?
그냥
Well,
개인적인 실수가 좀 많이
there
나오는데 좀
were
많이
some mistakes
아쉬웠던 것
during the
같고
games,
없애야 될 것 같습니다.
and I have to get rid of it.
자, 오늘 로치 선수 생일입니다. 생일
And
축하한다고
today is
한
Roach's
말씀
birthday.
해주세요.
Any
선물을
birthday wishes for him?
주셨는데.
사실 제가 왜 MVP를 받은지 잘 모르겠긴 하지만 그만큼 좀 우리 팀이 잘해줬다고
I don't
생각하고
know why I got the MVP. I don't really deserve
그래도
it. All of my
생일날에
teammates were
이겨서
doing so well. But it's
맛있는
really
거
good
먹으면
that
될것 같습니다.
we won the
네,
victory, so we can
알겠습니다.
go out for
자, 오늘
some great
젠지
dinner together.
관계자분과 또 CEO께서도 오셨습니다.
And I heard that
많이
GenG
부담되진
CEO is also
않으셨나요?
out here.
조금은 됐는데
I did feel a bit of a pressure,
그래도 이기는 모습 보여드려야 좋아하시지
but I
않을까
also wanted to
생각해서
show us
열심히
winning
했었던 것
today. So
네, 오늘
that
정말
was also
좋아하실
the
것
motivation for
같습니다.
us.
자, 2승했으니 이제 3승을 향해 가야죠. 다음 경기는 킹존입니다.
So next opponent
이기면
will be
승리를 더
Kingzone.
끌어올릴 수 있을 것 같습니다.
Dragon X,
그런 말씀 부탁드립니다.
is there any last message?
사실 제가 오늘처럼 이렇게 대회를 하면은
Well, today,
되게 힘들 것
I was really
같다고 생각하는데
underperforming.
최대한 빨리
if I
개선해서
perform like this,
좋은 모습으로
it's gonna be a hard match.
돌아오겠습니다.
So I'm gonna
네,
make sure to come back with
알겠습니다.
better
자,
performance.
오늘로써 MVP 공동 1위를
So you are on the
달성하신
first
룰러
place
선수
in the MVP
만나봤고요.
standings.
네, 제가 늦게 알려드려서 죄송합니다. 오늘은 안녕 해주실 거예요?
Can you say goodbye to the fans?
알겠습니다.
네, 알겠습니다. 자, 룰러 선수와의
So
인터뷰였고요.
this will be the
저희는
end of
여기서
the
인터뷰
interview with Ruler.
마치겠습니다. 또
And
만나요.
I'll pass it back to the
안녕.
casters. Thank you.
안녕히 가세요.
Thank you very much, Ji-sun. And thank you very much, Ruler, as well. Being very humble, as usual. The man says, I have to practice more than anybody else, I think. He's definitely hard on himself, that one.
He had a series. You can think that some of the
Yeah.
MVPs were paying forward some of the emotions he would have been feeling in game number 1, where his team collapsed around him. The rest of the team fell in line more often than not, and they were just, and I mean just, good enough to overcome KT. But the Kingzone series will be an interesting one because Kingzone has started to rise. They're on their own streak. In fact, a streak must end in King Zone versus GenG, and somebody's got to win 3 in a row.
Exactly right. And remember, Hanwha Life was one of our teams that started off 2-0 in our first week. They were a surprise. But King Zone has to first get through Damwon Gaming, and then Jin Air versus Hanwha means that Hanwha might get their way back into something good unless Jin Air, behind Grace's new power level, can get something going tomorrow night.
I just want to bring back King Zone and Hanwha Life. They haven't played on patch 9.2, a very overdue debut for them. Hanwha Life, no doubt, still in a weird spot there.
Yeah.
Season has kind of taken a real rough turn ever since they were so close to taking down Griffin in game 1 of that series at the start of week number 2. We're already most of the way now, halfway through almost week number 3, so things change. Everyone's got either 1 series to play or 2, and some teams actually start their New Year's break tomorrow.
Yep, exactly right. So that is going to be it for tonight. Thank you so much for bearing with us through such an epic evening.
We love you.
But we will be back again tomorrow for even more LCK action. So this guy will see you then, and Brendan Valdez will also be joining him on the desk. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.